Thank you for tuning in. If this is your first time joining us, welcome. We hope your experience is fruitful. Please feel free to visit our website to find out how you can join our growing family. While we are loading your experience, please do us a quick favor and hit that like button from whichever platform you're watching or listening on. Also, share so others may enjoy as well. And we hope you would consider hitting that subscribe or follow button so you can check out more of our amazing content. All right, let's start the show.
Ooh, hello and happy Monday, beautiful people of the interwebs. It's your girl, Camille here with another episode of Camille Over Chai. And today I have my friend, the beautiful, mindful, and amazing Siha joining us for an amazing conversation about mindful leadership. So you know what to do. Grab your cup of chai and join us back here for today's episode of Camille Over Chai. Hey y'all, welcome to Camille Over Chai, the show where we are striving to expand the concept of leadership by having authentic and engaging conversations with dynamic, amazing leaders of all kinds. I'm your host, Camille Talicia. I'm so excited to have you guys here with me today. Happy Monday, y'all, as we go into this week of Labor Day weekend, or I guess we're going into Labor Day weekend week. It was a long one between the last time y'all saw me and this time, which is why on today in my mug, this is not chai. You know, this is a red wine today, not Pinot Noir, but a sweet red. And my mug of the day, actually in honor of all of the lovely college students going back to school, is from one of my alma maters. This is where I got my master's degree, the Florida Institute of Technology. So shout out to all of our new college students. I don't know if y'all have been looking on the internet, on Instagram. I've been seeing all the videos of the HBCUs, all of their I guess like freshman orientation. Yes, cupcakes. Hello, how you doing, boo? Red wine today for sure. But the things that they've been doing for the new freshman students, and I'm like, ooh, those are the times when I regret going to a PWI, but that's a conversation for another episode. Today, we are having a conversation about mindfulness, health and wellness, a little bit of cannabis, of course, leadership, and whatever else comes up, because this is my real life friend, y'all, Miss Siha Collins. She is the founder of Yellow Mat Wellness. And excuse me, before I bring her on, I'm going to read a little bit of her bio so you know just who we are going to be chatting with. So, as a trauma-informed educator and mindfulness teacher, Siha fills up rooms with her unique brand of insight and ease to create spaces that help people make meaningful change. Through her lifestyle brand, Yellow Mat Wellness, she has not only curated innovative wellness practices for global brands, but facilitates experiences centered around mindful approaches to topics including social justice and community care. Her passion to teach extends directly into her service work by bringing the tools of mindfulness to individuals in schools, jails, rehab centers, shelters, and nonprofit organizations. You can learn more and find out how you can work with Siha, especially if you are located here in the Atlanta area, by going to her website, yellowmatwellness.com. But in the meantime, before you go to the website, before you click over, please help me in welcoming, drop some comments in the chat. Miss Siha Collins to the Camille Over Chai stage. Welcome, 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 welcome.
Hi, hey, one. It's so good to see your face and be on your awesome show. So thanks for the invite. I feel a little strange. Like, do I have to act more professional because you're
Absolutely not. Please don't. Please don't.
Okay, good. Well, I'll do my best. I'm glad to be here.
Yes, I love it. Thank you. Welcome. So this is the Connection Cafe, and to kick it off, I asked my guests the same 3/4 icebreaker questions. So everybody gets these questions. No pressure, no big deal. Number one, what are you sipping on today? Are you sipping on something today?
What am I sipping on? So, I had to rep for the mugs. You really made it like important for me to show up. So
Please. Yes.
It is 90 something degrees outside in Atlanta today. So this is actually in my hot mug. Nice green tea with a little bit of honey. So I had to keep it cool, but I didn't want to miss the mug boat. So this is one of my favorite mugs. My Redbird collection that says spoiler alert, I'm high.
I love it.
It has moderate success on and off of Zoom, but be mindful of what meetings that I bring it into. But
respectfully. Okay, love that. Okay, question number 2. If you had to describe yourself, excuse me, if you had to describe yourself as a flavor of tea, what would it be and why?
I want to say, I thought about this a little bit and I was like, I'm a nice lavender matcha.
Ooh,
right? Like, I love matcha. I think it's really complex. It's a different type of, tea than most people are used to having. But that like scent and that sensuality and that like floral and femininity, I hope I'm really serving up. And then, you can add a shot or not. So I like it when it's a little dirty. We'll talk about espresso, like, an extra.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of spike you need, but so I'm gonna say a dirty matcha, a dirty matcha. I just took you. That's like usually my coffee shop order, by the way. So
I love it. I love it. Now, why lavender though?
I was telling someone the other day, just my sense of smell is sometimes my strongest sense. I feel like on the internet, we think that things are in real life, but that's the sense that I miss the most, is that you can never smell how a place is. And I'm always walking in like, not just who else there, but what does smell like in there? Y'all got some candles, some incense, some perfume. So I always need a little floral note, a little smell good. That's me.
Respectfully heard. Okay. All right. And so our last question. All right. As you know, we do sometimes talk about leadership in this place. So what does the word leadership mean to you? And how would you describe yourself as a leader?
Ooh, that might take a little bit of meditation. The word leadership to me, I would define as your intentional and self-directed vision to make your life and other lives better. And the type of leader that I would describe myself as is a reluctant one. Actually, I have been thrust into leadership positions a lot of times, especially at moments when I don't feel ready. And if I'm always such a student and like kind of a self-developer, I'm always looking to like be a student, increase my own awareness, that sometimes I'm like, I'm still studying the class. I'm not quite ready to teach the class. And they're like, go on ahead and teach already. So
you got it.
sometimes, yeah, I'm a little reluctant, but that's been changing. That's been changing, lately and over the course of kind of my leadership career.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for sharing that. Wonderful answers. I love anytime somebody uses the word intentional. So here for it. Thank you. All right. So now we're really, really going to dive into you. So tell us, who do you serve and how do you serve them and you can talk about Yellow Mat, you can talk about Rare Bird, or you can talk about whatever. You can just talk about as Siha.
Yeah, when I think of that question, like, who do you serve? I want to be like the entire, greater good of the universe. I could give you that answer.
Okay.
But I want to say that the most real answer is that I serve me, who I was 10 years ago, and what I was needing. I feel like a lot of my work with mindfulness, with leadership, with Yellow Mat Wellness was just me like creating things that I was seeking and looking for, and maybe didn't already always have like a fully formed idea of it. But when I was for sure that I didn't see it around me, because I'd been really looking for a place that was like comfortable for me to practice and learn. I was looking for a place where I could practice leadership, but I wasn't put on a pedestal. I actually don't want to be anybody's guru. That feels like a position. Like, y'all know I cuss and like can't stick to my diet, right? So please do not try to make me the perfect one. And so I just feel like at this time, like who I serve are those are folks that are just seeking to feel better. Like that is my number one thing that I say all the time. What is the point of doing all of this stuff? All of the cleanses, the retreats, the classes, the everything, if you're not really feeling better. So I think maybe that's my realist answer. And you asked a part two.
It was how do you serve them?
I think I serve them by showing up as the example of practice. I think anything that somebody likes about me, when I'm told, Siha, you have so much energy, you have so much enthusiasm, you seem so charismatic. I'm like, wasn't always this graceful. Takes a lot of practice. As a matter of fact, I sat down this morning, closed my eyes, and that's the only reason why I'm able to like be here really present, like in rooms and conversations. So I kind of hope that I show up as an example of, if there's anything you like about me, it actually comes from me sitting with myself and doing the same practices that I'm teaching to you.
Yeah. I love that. And the leading by example is so important. And what I love about, and I don't know if it's just because you're my friend, but it's like you're very grounded and real. Like you said, we're like, I'm not trying to be your guru. I'm not trying to be this shining example of perfection. I'm just trying to do a little bit better than I did 10 years ago, and then I did last week. I did last month.
Yeah. And not that I haven't slid all the way back, to year 5 and then had to crawl myself back forward and then do all of those things. But my mantra for Yellow Mat Wellness has always been practice makes possible. Just anything that I've had a desire to do, whether it's like learning to balance on my head or to get better at speaking and leadership in rooms or kind of facilitation, it's come through first the idea that it is possible, and that I really need to practice the qualities that would make me better. It's not something that happens overnight. And also, I think we have maybe like meme culture has really gotten in our heads that we can just read something and like get the intellect of it from here up. But there's so many things that you have to do that you have to actually practice and embody from like here down.
Yeah.
It's really important.
Girl, listen. I was on Clubhouse today, just randomly got a notification. I know you let you clown me about my Clubhouse, right? But it's like I was doing some work and I got a notification. My friend started a room, and I haven't been like in a room on Clubhouse in a conversation in a while. And of course, it was about dating, and it always is a men versus women thing. But it's like you just hear these people, especially it was a lot of men on the stage today, and they were just spewing making these statements that they got up off the memes on the internet. Like
Yeah, like you're repeating that one psychologist misquoting them, talking about everybody. The newest buzzy thing that I've heard is people memeing like attachment styles. You
Oh my
know, you're this and that. Like that's come so much lately. And as a trauma informed like student, I spent
yeah.
like years kind of going through attachment theory, and it's also like kind of pretty new. And it's not like it's not a zodiac. It's like just a consideration. It's not like, oh, you're anxious attached. Boo, get out. It's like there's actually a little bit of nuance to it. So I totally get that of like what the internet has done to like our psychologizing of ourselves.
Exactly. Hey, Inspire, saw you come in. Thank you for being here. Okay, so I want to dial it in a little bit more and actually talk specifically about yellow mat, just especially because, again, as your friend, I've been able to kind of witness the whole journey of it. But I would love for you to share with the folks with us today about what was your inspiration for creating this movement, because it's now a movement. It was like this one thing, and now it's a movement.
Yeah. So I think the quick story that I always tell is that I think that yoga and meditation had already been around my life. Shout out to my father, who was a martial artist, who had a definite spiritual and like meditation practice. So I think it was always around my world. But I usually tell the story. I recall in preseason, like my junior or senior year of college, a college volleyball coach putting in like one of those fitness P90X like yoga videos and me getting my butt kicked. And that started my personal yoga journey. And I love the physical aspect, the almost competing against yourself feeling that yoga gave me. And so I had a real desire to get my physical practice better. And after about 10 years of on and off practice, I finally was in a position to take a break from my professional career and go into and take a yoga teacher training. And so this yoga teacher training that I signed up for, I said this weekend that I showed up for training, here I am thinking that they're going to show me some cool moves, show me how to teach. And my first weekend of training was trauma-informed outreach training, which is essentially how we apply mindfulness in challenging environments. So I've been so used to these beautiful spa-like spaces and experiences. And this was how to go and teach in an alley at a shelter or in the playroom of, a kids, daycare or after school program, or in facilities like detention centers. And so that weekend, I really had my own things flipped upside down my head. I realized so much stuff about why my yoga practice had been helping, what it had been doing for me. And then I just saw a real vision for my life. So with my background being in marketing, I think I'm just had kind of one of those brainstorm moments where actually a good friend of mine told me, she was like, see, I'm pretty sure your first yoga mat was yellow. And I'm like, oh, well, that's awesome. And so I had this idea of these sunny yellow mats, like just this vision in my head of how wonderful, how exciting would it be, or kind of a friendly reminder that like your best self, all the energy, all the sunshine that you're looking for, this little patch of sunshine is like where you can make your way to when you want to feel better. That was really like the inspiration behind Yellow Mat. It's like bringing light into dark places almost, if I think about it. Mm-hmm.
I love that. And you probably shared with me the story about the class. I don't remember, but God bless, for opportunities like this to learn again about your own friends. So I love that.
I love that. I tell people to finish that story. I said I went to that weekend of yoga teacher training, fully intending to go back to work at the end of training. So our training was about 8 months, but I took a 3-month sabbatical. After that weekend of training, I didn't go back to work for 7 years. So I think that's also really important to share that it was so profound, so impactful that there was really nothing else that I could see myself doing except for figuring out how to teach and share what I had learned. And so Yellow Mat Wellness just became the vehicle for that. But in whatever way that I was going to do, I was teaching in parks and in kitchens and on tennis courts and any and everywhere that somebody would let me teach, because I just felt like I had to share this incredible knowledge that I have learned about helping yourself feel better.
Yeah. And what I love that you're sharing is that for you, and probably for a lot of people, is that yoga is more than just those poses. And I want you to know, I don't know if you're looking at the comments, but honey, they are appreciating the one where you were on the side, the hand side, you know, that one right there.
Love that.
Sister said she's gonna break her back if she not her back. I'm sorry.
This is
Let me
my
you know,
dream.
she would break something if she tried to do that pose. Okay. Um, so yeah, and cupcakes the same way. Listen, y'all, I've taken a few of Sia's yoga classes, and what I will say is that she is a very gentle teacher in the sense that she's not going to force you to overexert yourself and break something. So you don't have to try the sideways what you call that
That's
you
the
did.
side throw. Yes. There's so many modifications. And, you know, I tell my students, I said, I can teach you how to stand on your head. But if you're still a jerk, you're just a jerk who can stand on your head.
Ooh.
So actually, the reason why we're practicing is because anytime you see a pose, think about who you'd have to be to do that pose, what it would require of you that pose. And so I say, if you want to build fearlessness, there's a little bit of fearlessness that comes with learning to balance on your arms. There's a little bit of confidence. You know, you really have to trust and believe that your practice works. So it's really just the poses are a means to the end, but the
Yeah.
end is to learn to feel better or to
Yeah.
learn to become whatever you're trying to do.
Yeah. Okay. So you always say that, well, not always say, but when you're referring to doing yoga, you always call it you're practicing, which I love, which implies that there's something that you're learning. So on this journey of building Yellow Mat, what are some things or something? It could be one thing if you only think of one, but if there's multiple, you have space to share that. That you have learned about yourself, like who you are as a woman, as a leader, as a yogi inside of that journey.
You know, the biggest thing, a couple of things. Goodness, there's yoga is the thing. I just tell people find your thing. You know, people will hear me holler and, you know, be waving my little yoga flag and they're like, see ya, see ya. That's definitely not for me. But I just think yoga is the metaphor that I'm using for whatever wellness thing it is for you. I think that's also, there was a change in my business name. I used to be Yellow Mat Yoga and I changed it to Yellow Mat Wellness because I said maybe it's not yoga for you, but yoga is just the only one of the few things in my life that I found that brings me back to myself, that makes me find consistency. And so something that comes up is like, what in your life do you anchor yourself to? For me, it's stepping on my mat. It's not just every time, you know, for some people it's journaling, for some people it's walking out in nature, for some people it's, you know, being with their pet or something. But for me, there's been nothing so deeply rewarding than to grow my yoga practice, but something else, like I was trying to think of the word, but it's like forgiving. My yoga mat has never yelled at me if I've left my yoga mat for 3 months. It's never been angry with me. It's never, and it's always accepted me back, you know, when I come back. It's such a kind space. And I don't think all the time we have that, or at least I haven't always had that experience of feeling like I have these open and welcoming spaces that really matter to me. So that's one thing that my practice has done and anchor me to create a safe space. And then the second thing that like comes immediately after that is if you're looking for anybody to change your life, that person is going to be you.
Yeah.
And so every time where I felt this resistance or blah, 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 ain't nobody forcing me to do yoga or to not. Like, I don't ever have to practice yoga again. It doesn't make me any special or different or better.
Yeah.
And so it is the thing that's, it's an everyday thing that feels very sacred. And so I just think that I was actually having a conversation with a friend earlier today. We're working on some incredible workshops. I'm feeling really inspired lately by a lot of work that I'm doing. And we were just talking about maybe, again, internet culture. When we do all this behind the scenes and the get ready with me and take a look at my life and do this stuff, I just happened to practice yoga before kind of the rise of social media, where you didn't bring your phone in class. Where it wasn't about the poses necessary, how you looked in the poses. It was very much more an internal experience. And so I think that some of like our, maybe our, social media has lost some of that sacred nature of when we just did things without like looking for a gaze around it. And so, making things in your life more ritual and more sacred. I would say.
I love that. That's my favorite thing to say in here. I love that. And you are inspiring our viewers. Cupcakes is gonna go find her a yoga class to take. And if she breaks something, she said she's forwarding the bill to Pyro Media. I don't think she's referring to me.
Well, what's so interesting is that the number one to this day, the two most important conversations that I have when somebody finds out that I practice yoga or that I teach yoga, they go, "Oh Lord, I can't practice no yoga. That's too hard." And then the second thing that I find out is that they've never tried.
Right.
So it's actually both things, that all of our perception about what yoga is seeing it on the outside rather than practicing for ourselves. There are more than 100 different styles of yoga. I'm sad that the internet only shows a couple that require very able-bodied and usually very fit and athletic bodies. But there is just as much yoga that is for all types of bodies, all types of fitness and ability levels. And I say, if you can breathe, you truly can do yoga. There is a yoga practice that's for you. And so, I just think that it requires just that desire to have an experience. Like I can talk all day about my yoga practice, but until I sit in a room and actually begin the practice of yoga, it would be different,
Yeah. Yes. And to your point, what's that last pose that we usually do? What's the name of that last pose at the end? Shavasana. Yes. I want y'all to know when you're laying on your back, taking deep breaths and just taking a moment, you are doing yoga, right?
Yoga. Yeah, you're so right. Thank you for pulling that up. This conversation, I need to get past the notion of this is white folk stuff. I want to say that, as with most things, that we have to understand the history of colonization of so many practices. And so that cover those yoga journal magazine covers that you used to see with, again, thin, mostly white, able-bodied women is not the heritage or the tradition of yoga. It actually comes from tens of thousands of years ago with brown folks using it as a means of physical development and spiritual development through the development of their mind and their body. And so I just think there's incredible, the practice of yoga is said to be anywhere between, as early as 6 and as old as, 8,000 years old. And so to just think that we could learn it all even in a lifetime is kind of a little laughable. So it's just try to find what you can to get started. And it's certainly, when it came over to America in the 60s and 70s, that's not all yoga,
Yes. And I want to chat some more about sort of the white folk stuff, but other things in that, like a whole mindfulness space in Connection Cafe Part 2. So what we're going to do, y'all, is take a quick break. We're going to run some ads and we will be right back with Siha Collins to complete our Connection Cafe combo. Y'all go refill your drinks and come back now.
This episode is sponsored in part by Bullet and Flight Radio. Get ready to uplift your spirit with Bullet and Flight Radio, the world's leading progressive Christian radio station. Experience the vibrant fusion of gospel house music and a rich medley of inspiration from all musical genres that'll make your heart soar. Join their extraordinary lineup of today's trailblazers, visionaries, and voices that matter, all sharing their stories and wisdom. Stay plugged in around the clock as they broadcast unmissable content 24/7. Your go-to station for all things inspiring. Become a pilot today by visiting bulletandflightradio.com. Bullet and Flight Radio. Your story, our station. Step away from the chaos and noise of your daily life. Experience moments for yourself that are calm, serene, and full of peace. A necessary respite to foster growth within you, because self-care should be luxurious. Luxem Noir.
Okay. Welcome back, y'all. You know what I was doing. Drinking my not chai. Welcome back, guys. We still have Miss Siha Collins with us inside of the Connection Cafe, founder of Yellow Mat Wellness, and also of Rare Bird. And before we get into more of the sweet and spicy conversation, I did, Siha, want to give you an opportunity to share a little bit about what you're doing with Rare Bird and your cannabis education. Real briefly, if you want to share about that right now.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I connect that to wellness. I just say wellness is everything. I saw a comment in our chat that there's power in breath work too. And I wanted to say that maybe the thing that if I could ever share about anything is that yoga is not just physical practice. Yoga is a system of well-being that includes physical postures called asanas, in addition to breath work and meditation. It's all there as one system. So I think one of those points of education is that so many people think about yoga as just those poses. But I think my entire wellness journey into yoga sort of had a pivot in that I'd been an athlete and sort of studying lots of wellness in different ways for several years, and had a really sudden event happen in 2016 with my father suffering a pretty severe stroke at that time that the doctor said was caused by stress. And it was devastating. And my response to these things was to find any and everything that I could to help ease my dad's anxiety. In 2016, I just started to hear those words about CBD. I think the cannabis market in general was starting to have a resurgence in places like Colorado, which I was just, happy accident was going to frequent more. And so in 2016, I kind of started my education track into learning more about the cannabis industry, yes, but through a lens of wellness, which is going back to the plant, going back to the practices. And so I became a certified cannabis sommelier, which is just a fancy way to say that I know a lot about the cannabis plant as well as kind of the compounds that are in the cannabis plant. We only ever talk about one or two, THC and CBD, but there's more than 150 beautiful compounds, cannabinoids, terpenes, things like that in the cannabis plant. And so I love, it combines my sense of smell with wellness that I just got through telling you about. And it's very special and interesting and fascinating to me to talk about cannabis.
Okay, perfect. And I love that. And if anyone is interested in learning more from you about that particular aspect of your wellness, should they also just reach out on yellowmatwellness.com?
Yeah, totally. So for years, I ran a class that was called Cannabis is the New Kale. And it was and I used to do a series of CBD infused sound baths called Mellow Yellow. And so I feel that cannabis is connected in so many ways. I have an apparel, like home decor and lifestyle brand that's called Rare Bird Fine and Unusual Goods. But a lot of, at this point in my kind of career and my journey as a curator, I think everything is everything. And so however you find it, through laying on a mat with me in a sound bath, or through shopping pretty ashtrays and lighters and all that cool stuff that is like sort of for your ritual. I just tell people, like, if you're into it, if you like it, I love it. We can get started.
Yes, perfect. Okay. And y'all listen, first of all, the things that she finds in Rare Bird are so cute and so luxe at the same time. Like what? It's a little metal case for your lighter. There's one that she has that has a string on it. Like it's just
but it's like my Palo Santo. This is all
right.
about creating those rituals and creating that wellness. And so I'm always asking, like, everything around us can be pleasing and nice. That's kind of like the intention behind it.
Yeah. And so, okay, honestly, as we're talking about this, I really want to just dive into this other part of the conversation, because at first I was thinking the mindfulness and yoga, but now I'm also thinking about even in this cannabis space, and there's a little bit of the recolonization or whatever you want to call it. Plus there's like a little bit of dilution. And so I'm not even sure exactly what my question is. This is more an opportunity for us to have a conversation, because I'm just like, are you seeing, or do you notice, and what do you think about the fact that there are these groups of people who come into these spaces and they find these things that are more indigenous in nature in one capacity or the other, and they monetize it, and then or capitalism, whatever you want to call it, and turn it into something that is not as potent, can be considered a little bit toxic. When I was thinking about the mindfulness, I was thinking about that toxic positivity movement now that's going on, where it's like being mindful and being love and light means that there's nothing else. Like all you can do is be happy. All you can do is smile. All you can do is say positive things. And that is how you know that you are a healed person. You are a mindful person. You are, all of those stuff. So I'm going to pause because I was about to go on a rant.
I felt it coming. But I respond to that is that I remember at some point, like in the beginning of kind of my yoga teaching career, having a conversation with a family member that was getting a little heated, and I was like expressing a boundary, and they turned to me, "Oh, you have such an attitude. I thought you were a yoga teacher." And it was like intended as an insult or something. And I was like, yeah, I'm still a bleeping human, like totally. So I just think, yes, a lot of what social media, or a lot of what like just culture does, when we just take things as generalizations, or when we just visit things in a vacuum. Again, a lot of my work that I'm personally into right now is in establishing habits, ritual, like reigniting things that are sacred. And so I do think, let's start in like a positive way.
Yeah.
I just think when you're introduced into anything, there can be like a level of interest and excitement about it, and excitement to learn. And I think that that is a positive intention of so many people. Just think about the rise of yoga. Yoga has been around for years and years, but never in my life have I seen the explosion that happened during and after social media, and then again during the pandemic. Like the people that started because they for the first time felt like they had time and space to maybe engage in a practice, and heck, there was nothing else to do, you might as well try something new.
Right.
But with that said, I think it comes back, loops full the way around to intention matters so much into why you're doing it and why you're showing up. And so maybe you did sign up for a yoga challenge to, just see it and try it on. But is it just so that you can compete with what your body looks like? Or is it so that you can really try to tap into some natural wellness that your body has? Not that either one is good or bad. Let me also say that. But I think it does lead to different outcomes. And so put that in a mass context. I think when you have communities practicing and they're divorced from why they're doing it. I think that's what leads to a little bit of that like sticky nature, that then it feels exclusive to people. That means that if I can only show up to your class if I'm wearing the right clothes, or if I've got the right gear, the right mat, or, then that's a different intention than let's all get together and try to practice and feel a little better. Does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. Excuse me. And the thing that comes up for me is circling back to Inspire's comment about she needing to get past the notion that this is white folks stuff, right? And it's like, in the Black community, in the Afro-Latina community, it's like, what kind of response and feedback have you been getting lately from people when you are mentioning that you do yoga, or inviting them to do something mindful, or like the sound baths, right? When I even when I've mentioned that to some friends, and they're like, "Wait, so what's happening? You're bathing in sound? Like, what are we doing? Like, how?"
Woo woo, woo woo. Yeah,
It's like the pushback that is kind of keeping them from this other level of healing that really honestly belong to us first.
yeah. I'm so glad that you say that, because I just think that when I'm having the conversation with Black folks about yoga specifically, I do think that there is still, it pulls the thread on a larger conversation about the stigma around all healing, therapy, therapy, nutrition, fitness, journaling, any sort of wellness practice outside of yoga, that maybe there's some time we ain't got no time for that. Maybe the spectrum is, for me, and I'm going to use my Black ass family of the spectrum, is we ain't got no time for that, to take it to the Lord. That's all we've got time for it. So that's kind of like the only spectrum that was kind of introduced to me. I want to say that I think like, I love us Black folks. We will actually make a way and find a way where there is nothing. So I'm actually pleased, and so it warms my heart. And I also have the privilege of sitting in an exceptionally Black city like Atlanta, where, let me tell you, I practiced yoga for 20 years, and it wasn't until 10 years or almost 12 years in my practice before I had my first Black yoga teacher. For years and years and years, I was the only Black person sitting in rooms of yoga folks. And again, because of those stigmas that we don't, it's not for us, we're not welcome there, that we don't have the right body type or don't have the right athleticism. And truly, it just comes down to a choice to show up in rooms to practice for yourself, to like connect with yourself. So there's an interesting thing that Black folks, I think we love to get together in community. We love a block party. We love a space party. We love a cookout. We love a pool party. We love whatever.
Right.
There's something actually very interesting about yoga that I say in my classes, that we're practicing together, but on our own. Like, yoga is a very individual and solo. I can't move your arm for you. People tell me all the time, "Oh, that was such a beautiful class." And I said, "But you did all the movement. I just gave you instruction, gave you suggestion." And there's another, this is maybe a little intuitive, but I think Black folks are still making our way back to that self-directed healing, and to that like finding our own means to what's making us feel better. That might be just outside of the norms that we've usually seen before. So I think that that's like a new wave or something that's changing, which I'm really happy for. But I just think it's still new for so many folks to look for different ways.
Yeah, it's true. And you're right. I do think we are finding our way back, because I mean, we're seeing more Black yoga instructors, and maybe it's just because we're in Atlanta and we're fortunate, but like seeing the Black girl yoga classes, like I saw something that was like the Black men's meditation or something or the other on my timeline earlier this year. So I agree, and I do think I'm happy to see that, because I think that even if you do it in combination with your church, take it to the Lord, all of that, but just adding those elements of other kinds of healing that aren't just relying on the medicine and the pharmaceuticals and all of that, I think is so important. It will only be beneficial to Black folks and to all of us, but especially us. How about that?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, wow. Time is moving. We have
Yeah.
one last quick commercial break to take, y'all, and then we're going to be back to talk with Siha a little bit more about her final thoughts and what she has coming up. So hang tight, watch these commercials, and come right back. That was a quick one. Okay, hello. Hi, guys. Welcome back. Um, as a reminder, we've had 2 sets of commercials. Please make sure that you are liking, sharing, following, subscribing to any and all of us. Pyro Media Network. If you're watching this on our YouTube page channel and you are not yet a subscriber, please hit that subscribe button. Like this video if you've enjoyed the conversation we've been having with Siha today. Find us on all the social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, all that jazz. YouTube, it's Pyro Media Network, or it's Camille Talicia. Instagram, Pyro Media Network, Camille Talicia. All very simple and straightforward. Make sure you're liking, following, sharing, subscribing, all that jazz. Yeah, and this is a safe space. No bullies allowed. I feel like we've been real safe today. We're talking about yoga in the comments, trying to break things and get paid for it. Like it's all, we're all real safe.
Yeah, bend so you don't break.
Exactly. Inspire says mindfulness-based stress reduction activities are very helpful, especially with overactivation of the nervous system and with trauma and hypervigilance. Absolutely. And we didn't even get to talk about your trauma-informed certification and all of that. So it sounds like you'll just have to come back another time on the show. But in the meantime, right now for today, we're going to move over into Let It Steep to kind of get your final thoughts. And what I would really love for you to just share for anybody who is watching this and has received the message of yoga doesn't have to be a thing you're afraid of or that you overthink, or mindfulness in general. So like what would be 1 or 2 first steps that you would recommend to somebody who wants to start a mindfulness journey, who maybe just read the comment that Inspire shared and, excuse me, can relate to feeling overactivated, overstimulated, having just being a little anxious? What are some things that you would offer them to get started?
Yeah, so I think that a lot of times, and again, we'll take it back to meme culture will have you feeling like something is wrong with you to be experiencing anxiety, depression, like everybody should be walking around just sunshine and rainbows. I said Instagram is literally the highlight reel for everyone's life and never actually tells you what's going on in your life. And so that in some ways, to feel anxiety and to acknowledge that, that's a wonderful place to start. Sometimes it's not until you can acknowledge that you're feeling bad that you'll actually give yourself the space to recognize your desire to want to feel better. I think that that's really important. So I think just if you feel like you have that desire to learn more, that's a good that's like a good exploration. But one of the things that makes me so sad about yoga is that it feels like there's so many gates that are kept around it. And one of my main goals is to make yoga feel more accessible. And it's that you truly need no tools, the tool of your breath. So every night before you go to sleep, close your eyes, get calm in bed, and try to track 10 breaths. Notice when you breathe in, say in, and when you breathe out, say out. And you might even be aware that it's hard for you to keep your mind focused on just those 10 breaths. You might kind of lose track after 5, and then do that again in the morning. Or set a timer for 2 minutes when you first get up, before you pick up your phone, before you do this, before you do that, and just close your eyes and sit. And so those are just like examples of 2 small practices. That is yoga in any small amount that takes you to a place where you can begin to sit with yourself. There's a Tibetan word for meditation, and it roughly translates to become familiar with. And so meditation is just a practice of becoming familiar with yourself, how your body feels. You know, a lot of times we only pay attention to our body when it's hurting us, when it's finally in so much pain, it's like we can't take it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Learn how to become familiar with your body, you'll actually begin to notice those subtle changes that are happening all throughout your day and throughout your life. So I think that that's really important to kind of notice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. And I agree. Inspire says it helps you to learn to respond rather just reacting all the time. And I definitely agree with that, because I don't think we pay enough attention to our bodies. And what we do is when we get that first sign, which is like a little ache, we take some medicine to cover it up. They're like, oh, I'm just taking Advil. And we don't think about like, okay, why am I aching? Why am I hurting? Why does my head hurt? You know, all of those things. Why do I have this pain? And I like that you are saying, hey, just start to reconnect. Can you repeat what you said the Tibetan word roughly translates to for meditation?
To become familiar with. And so I love that idea and sentiment that the act of meditation is really, in addition to just learning to respond, it's really learning to understand, to become familiar with. Just think about how much we put into everybody else, how much we focus on TV, on our phones, on this and that. When's the last time you close your eyes and turn that focus that you give so much to other people back to yourself? That's a powerful and deep concept. And so I think that folks who are, you know, when I started yoga and meditation, I thought it was, I'm trying to relax, I'm trying to de-stress, I'm trying to let go. And the long story short is, I take care of a lot of people in my community. I want to be a leader. I desire to show up with a big presence and in a big way. So I have to be fortified. I really have to know who I am and how I'm showing up in rooms. And so if you want to get better at your life, at living life, if you want to build your tolerance, there's nothing like starting a wellness practice for yourself, a focus practice, a meditation practice, breath work, or yoga, you know, that could help with that.
Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say is that practicing yoga could make you a better leader.
Ooh, I like how you put that. Yes, the mindfulness.
You know, just to put a bow on it.
Mindfulness part of mindful leadership is that we have to recognize that anything that we want to be able to pay forward to anyone else, we have to actually have that quality. So you can't keep people calm if you don't feel calm. You know, you can't be flexible with others if you're not very flexible with yourself.
Hello.
You know, things like that. And so I think that it's really, it's a mirror for ourselves and others when we meet ourselves on a mat, when we spend some time. One of my favorite quotes I used to say almost every yoga class is, you know, you give the love, you deserve the love you give so freely to others. And I think that that's essential to a yoga practice. You're not conversing with anybody else, moving with anybody else on your phone. It's you spending some time with yourself. And in today's like society and life, I think that's actually very rare. We only meet ourselves those few moments before we pass out in our bed, maybe a couple moments in the shower sometimes. God bless all the moms out there, got babies running in, you know, just we are so pressed for time to ourselves. And so I think that it really matters just to make some time to sit with yourself.
I love that. Ashe. Okay, y'all. It's time for us to find out what Siha has going on, how people can connect with you on the internet. So please let them know where to find you and what they can start looking forward to coming up.
Yes, so I always teach on a yellow mat at Yellow Mat Wellness. That's on all social media platforms and the website yellowmatwellness.com. It's been such a privilege and pleasure to be able to teach large public classes. Summer has been awesome. I've had so many offerings. You can find the website. I teach it, you know, a whole calendar of kind of county and city events around City of Atlanta and with beautiful partners that I have in the community. And then most specifically, specifically my work, I care so deeply about the practice of yoga and tools for healing trauma. And so my trauma-informed mindfulness has also taken a turn into unpacking the use of cannabis and psychedelics. I just this weekend was so happy to teach a class, Pack Your Bags, on mindful psychedelics. And that's going to be actually some of my newest work coming out. And the principle is not advocating psychedelics. It's saying, before you do that, maybe try all of these other things. Before you take a trip, pack your bags with the right tools. That's actually so it's really us taking our mindfulness into all areas of our life. And so I'm just signing up for Yellow Mat at yellowmatwellness.com will be the easiest way to connect. Or if you want to invite me to speak or to share or to host a class, I'm always accepting kind of requests to meet new people in new spaces and just create more space for connection and wellness.
I love that. Well, thank you so much, Siha, for being here with us today. Folks, please make sure that you connect with her at Yellow Mat Wellness, right? On Instagram at Yellow Mat Wellness, and then yellowmatwellness.com. You know me, like I said, you can find me, Camille Talicia, or The Intentional Goddess, on all places on the interwebs. Website is CamilleTalicia.com or TheIntentionalGoddess.com. They go to the same place. Just a little domain forwarding there. If you like today's episode, please like the video, actually give us a like, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment so that we know you were here. If you're listening, if you have a question for Siha, we can forward it to her if you drop the comments. For my replay viewers, thank you for watching. Even if you didn't watch live, your view matters and it is much, much appreciated. And then of course, the This Is Not Chai mug, y'all can go grab that online, CamilleOverChai.com/shop. You can get your This Is Not Chai mug for the days when you are
I need one of those.
Not drinking chai. Yes, ma'am.
Right?
All right, so with that, guys, I'm not sure if we're gonna have an episode next week because it's Labor Day, but we will be back, and you will just follow Pyro Media Network on Instagram to get the schedule. Yeah, here it is. No Camille Over Chai next week due to Labor Day. There it is. I just need to confirm. We will not be here next Monday, but we'll be back the following Monday, which will be a date in September that my brain cannot compute at this moment. But if you hit the subscribe bell, you will find out when that is. You'll be notified and you can join us right back here. And with that, y'all, thank you so much for being here. As always, be blessed, be amazing, be intentional, and I will see y'all next time on Camille Over Chai. Bye.